The mirror reflected more than just her physical self. It captured years of silent struggle, of dreams postponed and self-worth buried beneath layers of pain and excess weight. Sarah Rodriguez was 35, standing in her small bedroom with its pale yellow walls, surrounded by the remnants of countless failed diet books and abandoned exercise equipment. Her body, weighing 320 pounds, felt like a prison that had been constructing its walls for decades. The moment was unremarkable in its ordinariness. A Tuesday morning, soft autumn light filtering through slightly dusty blinds, the distant sound of neighborhood children heading to school. But for Sarah, something fundamental was about to change. She had spent years believing her worth was determined by her size, by the judgmental glances of strangers, by the silent disappointment she imagined in her family's eyes. Each failed diet, each return to comfort eating, had been another brick in the wall of her self-doubt. Today was different. A spark of something, determination, perhaps self-love, flickered in her eyes. She was tired of apologizing for her existence, tired of shrinking herself both physically and metaphorically, tired of waiting for life to begin once she lost the weight. In that moment, she understood that transformation wasn't about punishment, but about choosing herself, about believing she deserved health, happiness, and freedom. Sarah's decision wasn't a sudden burst of motivation, but a carefully cultivated moment of clarity. She pulled out a leather-bound journal she had received as a gift years ago, a present that had remained untouched, like so many of her abandoned hopes. The blank pages seemed to whisper with possibility. Her hand trembled slightly as she wrote those first powerful words. "I choose me." This wasn't about becoming someone else. It was about becoming fully herself. She understood now that her previous attempts at weight loss had been rooted in self-hatred, punitive diets, extreme exercise regimens, desperate attempts to conform to someone else's idea of beauty. This time was different. She was choosing health out of love, out of a deep respect for her own potential. Her first step was radical honesty. She scheduled appointments with a nutritionist, a therapist, and her primary care physician. No more hiding, no more pretending. She wanted to understand the complex web of emotional and physical factors that had led her to this point. The nutritionist wasn't just going to give her a diet plan. She wanted someone who would help her heal her relationship with food. The therapist would help her unpack the emotional baggage that had used food as a comfort and protection. Sarah began to research, not from a place of desperation, but with the methodical approach of someone building a life strategy. She discovered stories of people who had made similar journeys, not just losing weight, but fundamentally transforming their lives. Each story became a beacon of hope, a reminder that her path was possible. Her family's initial reactions were mixed. Some were supportive, others skeptical. Her mother, who had struggled with weight her entire life, seemed both hopeful and anxious. Her younger sister, always her strongest supporter, promised to be by her side every step of the way. The commitment she was making was about more than physical transformation. It was about reclaiming her narrative, about proving to herself that she was capable of profound change. She understood now that this journey wasn't about reaching a destination, but about the courage to take each step, to choose herself every single day. The first weeks of Sarah's journey were defined by intentional, microscopic changes. She knew from past experiences that radical, sweeping transformations never lasted. This time, she would build her new life inch by inch with patience and compassion. Her first goal was deceptively simple, a 5-minute walk around her neighborhood. That first morning, she felt self-conscious, imagining every passing car and pedestrian was staring at her. But as days turned into weeks, those 5 minutes became 10, then 15, then 30. She discovered a small park near her apartment with a gentle walking path where trees created a natural sanctuary from the world's judgmental eyes. Nutrition became her next frontier of exploration. Instead of crash diets or extreme restrictions, Sarah began to learn about food as fuel. She took online cooking classes, learning to prepare meals that were both nutritious and delicious. Her kitchen transformed from a place of mindless comfort eating to a laboratory of self-care. She learned about portion sizes, about balancing macronutrients, about listening to her body's genuine hunger and fullness signals. A nutritionist became her strategic partner in this journey. Together, they developed a plan that wasn't about deprivation, but about nourishment. Sarah learned to replace processed foods with whole ingredients, to see cooking as an act of self-love rather than a chore. She discovered spices that could make healthy foods exciting, recipes that felt like indulgence but supported her health goals. Technology became an unexpected ally. She downloaded a fitness tracking app, not to obsess over numbers, but to celebrate progress. Each step, each moment of movement became a victory. She joined online support groups where real people shared genuine struggles and triumphs, finding community in vulnerability. The most significant change wasn't physical, it was mental. Sarah was learning to be kind to herself, to see setbacks as learning opportunities rather than failures. Some days were harder than others. There were moments of doubt, times when old habits whispered seductively. But she was developing a new language of self-talk, replacing criticism with compassion. Her workplace became another arena of transformation. She started bringing homemade lunches, taking short walking breaks, making choices that prioritized her well-being. Colleagues who had known her for years began to notice a change, not just in her body, but in her energy, her confidence, her presence. These weren't dramatic changes. They were quiet, persistent acts of courage. Small steps that, when strung together, would create an entirely new path. The path of transformation was never going to be a straight line. Sarah quickly discovered that her journey would test her in ways she had never anticipated. Internal demons and external obstacles seemed to conspire to derail her progress, presenting challenges that would ultimately become the crucibles of her strength. Her family dynamics proved to be the first major hurdle. Her mother, who had struggled with weight her entire life, oscillated between subtle undermining and genuine concern. Family gatherings became emotional minefields. Aunts would make passive-aggressive comments about her diet, uncles would joke about her health kick, and well-meaning relatives would push traditional comfort foods, seeing her resistance as a rejection of cultural traditions. Workplace dynamics added another layer of complexity. Some colleagues, initially supportive, began to show signs of discomfort with her transformation. A few seemed threatened by her growing confidence, making subtle comments that aimed to diminish her progress. There were whispers, sidelong glances, and occasional remarks that felt designed to keep her in the familiar box of her previous identity. But Sarah's most formidable opponent was her own internalized narrative. Years of self-doubt don't disappear overnight. Some mornings she would wake up feeling like her old self, defeated, hopeless, believing change was impossible. The voice of her inner critic was loud, well practiced in the art of undermining her confidence. To combat these challenges, Sarah developed a multi-pronged strategy. She sought professional support, working with a therapist who specialized in body image and emotional eating. Together, they unpacked years of accumulated psychological barriers. She learned to recognize and challenge negative thought patterns, to distinguish between constructive self-improvement and destructive self-criticism. Online support groups became her lifeline. She found a community of individuals who were on similar journeys, people who understood the nuanced emotional landscape of significant personal transformation. These connections provided more than just motivation. They offered validation, practical advice, and a sense of belonging. Her sister became her most steadfast ally. Where others might have subtly sabotaged her efforts, her sister was consistently supportive, attending fitness classes with her, cooking healthy meals together, and providing emotional support during moments of doubt. Slowly, Sarah began to develop an armor of resilience. Each challenge became an opportunity for growth, each setback a lesson in persistence. She learned to set boundaries with family and colleagues, to advocate for her health without apology. Her transformation was becoming as much about mental and emotional strength as it was about physical change. The most profound realization was understanding that resilience wasn't about never falling. It was about how quickly and compassionately she could pick herself up, dust herself off, and continue moving forward. 18 months into her journey, the changes were far more than skin deep. Sarah had lost 140 pounds, but the number on the scale was the least significant measure of her transformation. Her body was changing, yes, but more importantly, her entire relationship with herself was being rewritten. Yoga became her unexpected sanctuary. Initially intimidated by the thought of group fitness classes, she found a body-positive instructor who taught adaptive classes that welcomed bodies of all sizes and abilities. Each session was a revelation. She discovered strength she never knew she possessed, not just physical strength, but the kind that comes from truly inhabiting one's body without shame. Strength training became another crucial component of her journey. With a patient personal trainer who understood her history, Sarah learned to see her body as a powerful instrument rather than something to be hidden or apologized for. Each lift, each repetition was a declaration of her worth. She wasn't trying to punish her body into submission, she was celebrating what it could do. The emotional healing ran parallel to her physical transformation. Therapy sessions helped her unpack decades of internalized shame, understanding the complex relationship between her eating habits and her emotional landscape. She learned that food had been more than just nutrition. It had been a coping mechanism, a form of protection, a way of dealing with unprocessed emotions. Her relationship with movement transformed dramatically. Where exercise had once been a punishment, a desperate attempt to change her body, it now became a form of joy and self-expression. She discovered hiking, finding peace in nature that she had never experienced before. Weekend mornings that were once spent in bed became opportunities for adventure, for exploring her newfound capabilities. Clothing shopping, once a source of profound anxiety, became an experience of liberation. She wasn't just buying smaller sizes, she was choosing clothes that reflected her personality, her spirit. Each piece was a celebration of her body, not a way to hide or minimize herself. But the most profound changes were invisible to the naked eye. Her posture changed, her voice grew stronger, she began to take up space, literally and metaphorically. The hesitant, apologetic woman she once was being replaced by someone who knew her worth, who understood that health was about so much more than a number on a scale. Sarah's transformation was holistic. It wasn't just about losing weight, it was about gaining life, about understanding that her body was not an enemy to be conquered, but a home to be loved, respected, and cared for. The decision to share her story wasn't calculated or strategic. It was an act of pure vulnerability. One evening, after a particularly challenging workout, Sarah posted a raw, unfiltered photo on Instagram. She wasn't perfectly posed or wearing designer workout gear. Instead, she was sweaty, makeup-free, her body showing both its strength and its journey of transformation. Her caption was brutally honest. "This body has carried me through pain, through healing, through transformation." It's not about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to choose yourself every single day. The response was unexpected and overwhelming. Within hours, the post went viral. Women from every background, every age group, every body type began flooding her inbox with messages of gratitude. Some shared their own struggles with weight, mental health, and self-acceptance. Others simply expressed how seeing her journey gave them hope. Sarah realized she had accidentally become something more than just a weight loss success story. She was a movement, a voice for those who felt invisible in a world that often equated worth with appearance. Her online platform grew organically, not through carefully curated images, but through raw, honest storytelling. Podcasts invited her to speak. Health and wellness magazines featured her journey, but Sarah was careful. She refused to be positioned as a quick-fix guru or a miracle solution. Her message was consistently about self-love, about understanding that transformation is deeply personal and looks different for everyone. Speaking engagements became her new platform. She would stand on stages, her body telling a story of resilience, her words cutting through the noise of diet culture and unrealistic beauty standards. She spoke about the importance of mental health, about breaking cycles of emotional eating, about finding worth beyond physical appearance. Universities, corporate wellness programs, women's conferences, they all wanted to hear her story. But Sarah was strategic. She used these platforms not to sell a dream, but to create real, meaningful conversations about health, body positivity, and self-acceptance. Support groups and online communities became her extended family. She created spaces where people could share their struggles without judgment, where transformation was celebrated in all its messy, non-linear glory. Her followers weren't just audience members. They were a community, supporting each other through their individual journeys. More than anything, Sarah had become a beacon of hope. She proved that transformation wasn't about reaching a destination, but about the courage to begin, to continue, and to love oneself through every single step of the journey. The culmination of Sarah's journey was never about reaching a final destination, but about creating meaningful change, both for herself and for others. Her transformation from a woman struggling with weight and self-worth to a certified health coach and motivational speaker was a testament to the power of resilience and self-discovery. As a health coach, Sarah developed a unique approach that went far beyond traditional weight loss strategies. Her programs were revolutionary, focusing on holistic wellness that integrated physical health, mental well-being, and emotional healing. She understood that true transformation was never about fitting into a predetermined mold, but about helping individuals discover their inherent worth and potential. Her speaking engagements became more than just inspirational talks. They were workshops of healing, spaces where people could confront their deepest insecurities and begin their own journeys of self-love. Universities, corporate wellness programs, and community centers sought her out, recognizing that her message transcended typical health and fitness narratives. The nonprofit she founded became her most significant achievement. Brave Bodies, Brave Souls was more than an organization. It was a movement. The program provided resources for individuals struggling with body image, emotional eating, and self-acceptance. It offered scholarships for therapy, nutrition counseling, and fitness programs for those who couldn't afford them. Sarah's impact extended beyond individual transformations. She became a consultant for healthcare providers, helping them develop more compassionate, holistic approaches to patient care. She challenged medical professionals to see beyond weight as a singular metric of health, advocating for comprehensive, empathetic healthcare. Her book, Choosing Me, A Journey of Transformation, became an international bestseller. It wasn't just a memoir, but a manifesto of self-love, a guidebook for anyone feeling trapped in their own body or life circumstances. Publishers translated it into multiple languages, extending her message of hope globally. Media recognition followed, but Sarah remained grounded. She was careful never to position herself as a miracle worker or a quick-fix solution. Her message remained consistent. Transformation is personal, messy, and absolutely possible. She celebrated every journey, understanding that progress looks different for everyone. Perhaps her most profound impact was the cultural shift she helped initiate. She challenged societal narratives about body image, health, and self-worth. She proved that inspiration isn't about perfection, but about authenticity, vulnerability, and the courage to choose oneself every single day. As she stood on stages, wrote her books, and continued her work, Sarah knew her journey was never just about her. It was about creating a world where every person could see their own worth, regardless of their size, shape, or past struggles. A world where choosing oneself was the most radical act of love possible.